July 27, 1966, 37-year-old Boudreaux was admitted into Southern Baptist Hospital in New Orleans with severe abdominal pain.
Angela Boudreaux was a Louisiana woman who lived on the other side of the Mississippi River. And in 1966, she was a mother in her 30s, mother of some children, and she'd been diagnosed with liver cancer.
You know, when she was operated on in 66, her liver was 90% replaced with tumors, multiple tumors, throughout both lobes of her liver. Some of these tumors were as big as 8 centimeters.
I came down with a swelling that I looked like I was 9 months pregnant, and I didn't know what it was, but I was beginning to feel weak. And I went on to the doctors, and I was diagnosed with what they thought was cirrhosis of the liver. Well, it turned out they took biopsies. The first biopsy they took was nothing but cancer, no liver there. The size of the mass tumor was the size of a grapefruit. And he says, and I said, well, what's the chances if it's bad? He said, we will cut you open and sew you back up.
Angela Boudreaux immediately sought help from Father Seelos' prayers. She even requested her non-Catholic doctor to wear a Seelos relic during her emergency surgery.
Yes, it was 90% covered. And they couldn't slice away the tumor because it would be most of the liver. And so I was given 2 weeks to live, and I called in my priest to come in to tell my husband, because I knew he was going to be broken up. And I had 4 children, 2 up into 12.
She convinces Dr. Ruffey, who's Episcopalian, to wear one of these third-class relics of Father Seelos, these mementos, scapulars they were called, to wear this when he cuts her open. When they see that 90% of the liver was cancer, only 10% of the organ remained, they sewed her back up because they had assumed at that time that something that large, there's a parent tumor elsewhere in the brain, somewhere else. They sewed her back up. They gave her 2 weeks to live.
Devastated by the utter hopelessness of having terminal cancer, Angela still put her faith in God and prayed earnestly before the crypt of Father Seelos.
They sent me home, but the first place I stopped was at Father Seelos' tomb in St. Mary's Church. It was closed because in '65 there was a hurricane and the roof was leaking and no one could go back to the tomb, but knowing the Redemptorist, they allowed me to go in. I went there to ask for a miracle and to raise my 4 children.
Angela came directly from the church, from the hospital to this church. She was blessed at that time with the Father Seelos mission cross, and she prayed before his tomb where he was buried at that time.
From that point on, Angela began to experience a rapid, unexplainable recovery.
And the size of the tumor kept shrinking. And by 3 months, the doctor said, he says, this is shrinking too fast. He said, for this to be from the drug only.
Angela Boudreaux attributed her cure to Father Seelos' prayers, to whom she had persistently asked for help during her illness. 5 years later, in 1971, any doubts about Angela's full recovery from her destroyed liver were put to rest.
I was a surgeon who was asked to take a gallbladder out for the gallstones, and that's what we did. But we also made plans to explore her abdomen completely to look for any possible residual from what she had in 1966. I looked at her chart and looked at her old records and saw that she had a reticulum cell sarcoma and said, well, that was kind of interesting because it was 5 years later. And so that's pretty unusual to see somebody with that diagnosis be around 5 years later at that time.
Dr. Weilbacher agreed to remove her gallbladder and also to examine her liver to see if she was still cancer-free.
Well, reticulum cell sarcoma in those days, in 71, was a very highly malignant type of cancer. And that term, reticulum cell sarcoma, is no longer really used now. Now, all of these tumors are classified as some type of undifferentiated or poorly differentiated, which means malignant type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Dr. Weilbacher and the attending physicians were puzzled by what they saw. Angela's liver had been completely restored, absent even any scarring from where the massive tumors had been.
Her liver was normal. And we did biopsies of both lobes of her liver, just blind biopsies of normal-looking liver. We palpated her complete liver and visualized her complete liver to make sure there wasn't some area that would be suspicious.
Doctors stated additional treatments of drug or chemotherapy could not have saved Angela's life.
Angela did receive some chemotherapy immediately following her surgery. But this only went on from like August of '66 through December of '66. And even though some of those drugs she received have been shown to be helpful in these type situations, there's never been a cure with these drugs. No one's ever been cured with the two drugs that she received. That type tumor at that time would come back and they would die from it. No question about it at that time.
28 years later, in 1999, Angela underwent the Vatican's stringent medical review as part of the beatification process. She was again found completely cancer-free.
Long story short, Angela Boudreaux doubled her lifespan. She lived to see all of her children grown and grandchildren. She was quite healthy in the year 2000.
Seelos's cooperation